Welcome back. Now, tomorrow the Senzo Meyiwa case returns to court, and joining me in studio to give us an update on what to expect is SABC News Reporter Sipho Kekana. Sipho, good afternoon, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. So for our viewers who might not be that familiar or not focusing, not giving that much attention, just recap the case for us. What happened to Senzo Meyiwa?
So before the court went into recess, it was all about the Vodacom forensic supervisor from Vodacom, actually just all about untangling the intricate web of those calls among the accused. That was the focus before the court went into recess. It was all about painting a picture of those connections. Well, on the one hand, for the state, it was to prove that indeed the five accused know each other and had been communicating over a period of time before, well ahead of the Senzo Meyiwa murder on the 26th of October, as well as the time around that murder, and specifically on that fateful day of the 26th of October. It was all about that. We had her like detailing all the calls. In fact, at some stage, we then even had the judge coming in to say, this information is just too much. Can it just be summarized? You can imagine the amount of data. It was voluminous. She had to just summarize that. At some stage, she even told the court that there were, like, for instance, with accused number 3, she had recorded over 5,000 activities from accused number 3's cell phone. So that kind of evidence then had to be summarized, and it was then presented in court. She dealt with the calls that were made among the accused. She dealt with the calls that were made by the individual accused. We've seen how accused number 2, for instance, it was said in court that when he was still in the holding cells, he had his cell phone with him and was able to make calls to his girlfriend, and he was also communicating with the other accused at the time that he was still in the holding cells as just a mere suspect at the time. And you recall that it was contrary to the evidence that he had given in court, which was that when he was arrested on the 19th of June that year, 2020, his cell phone was confiscated. Now, this evidence that now came through via this call record indicate that that evidence could have not been true because according to the cell phone records, he had been in contact with the other accused at the time that he was still just a suspect in the holding cell. So all that evidence came through before we went into recess. It was all about painting that picture and showing that even on the day, there was communication among the accused, and more perhaps interestingly, between accused number 2 and number 5. And also their locations. On the other side, the state was also further trying to locate them within the Vosloorus vicinity on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed.
Okay, so that's the past. Let's take a look at the future now. What new evidence can we expect to be presented in court tomorrow morning?
So tomorrow morning, we are expecting that this Vodacom specialist, Pinky Vithylingam, will be back on the stage, on the stand, as the state tries to wrap up her evidence. And at that point, when that is done, we are expecting that the defense will then take that opportunity to cross-examine her. And so we do not know at this stage how long that is going to take. I'm talking about the cross-examination of this Vodacom employee. It could take a day, it could take 2 days, it could take weeks. But in the event that it finishes earlier than that, we are expecting that now the focus will then shift from those calls that were made by the accused and their locations and stuff like that. We are expecting that the focus will then shift to the ballistic. You recall that last year, it's almost a year since the ballistic expert, that is Christian Mangena, testified in court in August last year. detailing ballistically what could have happened, also telling the court that they had discovered that the gun that was discovered in accused number 3's room at some stage was the same gun that was used to kill Senzo Meyiwa. Now, he never got the opportunity to be cross-examined because their defense at the time asked for time to consult their own ballistic expert. It's been almost a year now, and we are expecting that once this Vodacom employees' evidence is done and the cross-examination is done, we are expecting that Mangena will be back on the stand to be cross-examined by the defense as the state is now moving to be closing their case.
How will the prosecution's case be strengthened or weakened by this new evidence?
Well, the evidence by the evidence by the Vodacom employee is very crucial in terms of locating the accused in and around Vosloorus, especially on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. You recall that some of the accused have argued that they were not even in Joburg on that particular day, and according to these records, we can now perhaps see that perhaps that evidence is not reliable. This is a very important piece of evidence because you cannot dispute it. At the point that you do agree that this is a number that belongs to you, then it can be used to then locate you at a particular point in time. Some of the towers that those cell phones were pinched to were the towers that were in and around Vosloorus. Some of them, ranging between 2.2 kilometers to 6.1 kilometers from the crime scene. So you could then see that there was movement of these particular cell phones that were being used apparently by some of these accused in and around Vosloorus on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. And that is going to be very, very crucial in terms of strengthening the case by the state, that these were the men that perpetrated this particular incident.
So they can pinpoint thanks to the technology. That's the prosecution, then the defense. What will their strategy be?
Well, it is not clear what the strategy of the defense is going to be. At the moment, you recall they should have already cross-examined Christian Mangena on his evidence, and it is perhaps a little bit telling that evidence, which was almost the final nail in the coffin for the defense's case, in a sense that it was very detailed in terms of which gun was used and who could have possibly shot. And you recall that Mangena also painted a picture of exactly what could have happened exactly in that kitchen at Kelikumalu's home, and in as far as the direction that the shooter was standing, the direction that Senzo Meyiwa was facing on that particular day. So he really reconstructed that scene, and it was very, very detailed. That evidence, as it stands right now, it remains unchallenged, and we have seen now the defense going to lengths to get an expert, a ballistic expert on their own, to ensure that they are adequately prepared to cross-examine Mangena on that particular evidence. So we are expecting that after Mangena, there may be another ballistic expert to be called by the state, and after that, perhaps then the lead investigator in this case, which will then be Brigadier Bongani Gininda, to take the stand. And after that, we are expecting now the state will then be wrapping up their case, and we will be moving to the defense case, and we will then get to understand what their strategy is at the time.
So how do you think the outcome of tomorrow's proceedings will then impact the rest of the trial, basically?
Well, this is a very crucial evidence, as pointed out, in terms of, one, it has, the state is going to use that evidence to prove that firstly, the accused know each other and communicated well ahead of time. The accused know each other and communicated on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. And they will point out their exact locations on that specific day. And you would recall also that there is one of the witnesses that was called by the state is a police officer by the name of Constable Zungu. He spoke about how he, on that very same night, he was at a hostel with the 5 accused, and how around 7 and 9 in the evening, these 5 accused seem to have disappeared and came back carrying guns and looking to be in quite a state. Now, all of this evidence is going to be used to build the state's case in terms of corroborating some of the evidence that has already been laid in court, and also including the confession statements that have now been admitted in court as evidence by accused number 1 and number 2. You recall that in number 2's confession statement, he does say, does reveal a number of things as to who could have been the organizer, who called him to recruit him in terms of being part of this particular job, and that would then be supported by some of the evidence from these calls that were made, and the fact that all their cell phones seem to have been in and around Vosloorus on that particular day. That would corroborate also Zongo's evidence that he had been with all of them on that particular night. We have seen, for instance, the movement of accused number 3 cell phone in and around Vosloorus on that day, and at some point in the evening, early evening around 5, that cell phone is then seen around Ben Rose or George Cock, that area, and around 7 p.m. there is no activity at all of that particular cell phone. And this is around the time that, according to some of the details contained in accused number 2's confession statement, this is around the time that he says they then left the Vosloorus hostel and proceeded to the crime scene where this murder then took place.
So here we are sitting and talking about the details of this case. How has the public's interest in this case impacted or influenced the way that we cover court proceedings in general?
Well, I think there's been a lot of public interest in this matter, and I would surely believe that many newsrooms out there factored that into how they decided on which stories to cover and stuff like that. And you see how it is then being carried out live on social media, on YouTube, and also on some of sometimes on TV. So the public has been very, very much interested. Perhaps that interest seemed to be waning a little bit, and it is because of how this case now seems to be protracted, because a lot of people had hoped that by now they would have had the end of this case. But there are too many delays and interruptions. We have seen, especially for instance, with the current witness that is being given Vithylingam testimony, we have seen numerous times where she was not in court because she was not feeling well. The court had to take some time to give her some time to then summarize that evidence. That took time as well. There was time when there was no court. Proceedings had to be postponed because accused number one was not feeling well. In fact, at some stage, he was then asked to even produce a doctor's letter to prove that he was not feeling well. So we have seen all these delays playing out, and also including the evidence of Christian Mangena, who's only going to be cross-examined now, almost a year later. So all these delays seem to have also affected the public's interest. But I do believe that with the kind of evidence that Mangena led, this coming week, we are going to see that public interest coming up again, and people are really paying more attention to what is happening in court.
Will this case and its outcome influence the South African Football Society at large?
Well, there's been a lot of interest also from those sectors because a lot of people feel that justice should be served. Justice should happen here. A lot of people, especially the Orlando Pirates fans, have been calling for justice. We've seen them, some of them, a number of times coming out to support the state in this case. So I do believe that a lot of them are waiting with bated breath to understand how this case is going to actually end up, and they will be hoping that there is finally some sort of conviction at the end, and that is the interest from the football side. A lot of fans would want to see justice being done.
Sipho, thank you so much for joining us here today. You are really on top of all the details, and good luck with covering the case from tomorrow. That was our SABC News reporter, Sipho Kekana.